Production 57317, A Nice and Decent Little Town. Written by Frank Telford, directed by Gil Bettman. This episode aired originally on NBC February 18th, 1983, Friday night, 9 p.m. It was filmed January 25th through February 2nd, 1983. It is the 16th episode to air and the 17th to be produced. Let's dig in. So right here on this title screen, this whole opening sequence takes place on the Universal Studios back lot. My plan was to show you some aerial and satellite views of this area, but in reality, all of this has changed in the last 40 years. So doing an aerial shot would kind of be pointless at this point because of how different this is. But this is the Universal Studios backlot. So the opening scene, right before we see the episode title, is this aerial shot of some city. You know, supposedly Alpine Crest. But obviously Alpine Crest was fictional, and that's not what this is. So I'm going to give you guys a challenge. I know what city this is. I want you guys in the comments below to let me know what city this is. Where are we looking at for this aerial shot? Put it in the comments below. This is Luke Askew, who played Ron Austin, obviously the beginning of his appearance. This is the one and only episode in the entire series that lists the guest stars in alphabetical order. I don't know the reasoning behind that. My guess is maybe there was some kind of a conflict between the guest stars as to who would be listed first. So to be fair, they just listed them in alphabetical order. Maybe they were just trying something different for this episode. I don't know, but this is the only time you see guest stars in alphabetical order. And then we see Ron running around the corner, and if you look in the mirror here, you can see some of the crew. This is obviously Ron's shadow, but you can see some of the filming crew here and maybe a camera right there as he runs past the windows. And then we have KITT getting ready to self-drive here, and once again get another good look at the blind drive suit deal here. It almost looks like a suede or some kind of a velour fabric there. I always thought it was interesting because you have these two people talking and having a conversation, and then as soon as KITT starts to leave, they like stop their conversation and peek in the car as if they, were aware that the car right there had no one in it, and then all of a sudden it piqued their interest and they're not understanding what's going on. So they're like, da da da, just talking. What? Da da da, just talking. What? So there you go. And then Ron decides to stop and distract Michael by throwing out all these counterfeit bills. If you look closely, so this is what we see whenever it opens and whenever he starts throwing the money out. You can see the top bills are legit money, really. And then underneath, when he starts throwing those up, you can see you've got fake money underneath. So my guess is, when they opened it at a glance, they wanted it to look legit and real, and then as soon as he started throwing the money out, they had it padded underneath with fake bills. So there you go. Interesting that he's just throwing out like the $10 bills and all the higher denominations are at the bottom. And Michael, KITT rendezvousing with Michael. This is the backup to the hero car. Still, we can tell that because if you've been following along throughout this series, we've got a tow bar down here, but we've got our squared off fiberglass overhead console. So we know that this is the backup to the hero car. This is the car that is currently in the Peterson Museum for a few more months, and a car that we own. For this episode, we are still dealing with 5 Trans Ams and 1 Flivver car. That will be changing. There'll be an addition in the next episode. So stay tuned. So now we have Michael arriving in Alpine Crest. In reality, this is Covina, California, and we're going to be showing you, we went there in 2018, and a lot of this town is pretty much just as it was back then, which is kind of cool. So we'll show you a couple then and now shots. And Michael gets ready to pull in, and what do we see? That's right. There's our red and white AMC Gremlin. Still making appearances. When was the first time we saw that? Was that in Slammin' Sammy? Good Day at White Rock? I think it was in Good Day at White Rock. Yeah, so here it is again. So now we're in the downtown of Alpine Crest, and most of you know this, but this courthouse is in reality Courthouse Square from at Universal Studios in their back lot. 2 years after this was filmed, this courthouse would become famous for being the courthouse in Back to the Future. And that it's just a facade. It's not a real building. It's just the front half. So actually, if we head over to Google Maps, you can kind of get a good look at it. So this is the town square, that we see in the movie, and then this is the front of the courthouse right here. You can see here that it's got some other buildings behind it, but this is not part of this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Some of you guys may know better than me. I've been here, but it's been a long time. I think originally, especially back in the 80s, this was literally just a facade, and I'm guessing they added these buildings on in the back later. So you guys can let me know if I'm wrong there. See, then we're going to pan out here a little bit, and you kind of get a better look. Obviously, this is before the clock tower was added at the top, but this is the same Courthouse Square we see a million different times in Knight Rider. We saw it in Good Day at White Rock as the town of White Rock. We see it later again in Sky Night. I mean, it's just used a number of times. And then we have Michael getting ready to introduce himself to Jobina. This guy right here, I don't know his name, but I know he's part of the Knight Rider crew. He pops up in a few other episodes, but and I'm sure some of these other people are probably part of the crew as well, just being used as kind of filler for the background. And now we have the wonderful Jean Bruce Scott playing Jobina Bruce here. She had roles in Magnum P.I., St. Elsewhere, probably best known for being cast as Caitlin in Airwolf for Season 2 and Season 3. She retired in 2019 just retired in general. But for 25 years, she worked at the Native Voices at the Autry, developing and producing plays, screenplays, radio plays that are by Native American playwrights. So she worked there for a quarter of a century and then just retired back in 2019. So now Michael has spotted Ron Austin. Ron takes off. So this is interesting because Ron takes off, and we can tell we're still at the Universal Studios backlot. This is the Courthouse Square. This is one of the main drags beside it. The courthouse is over here. So we see Michael chasing him, and then it cuts to this scene, and all of a sudden we're in Covina, California. So here he's in Universal Studios backlot in Universal City. Now all of a sudden he's in Covina running off. So these were filmed 2 totally different times, 2 totally different locations. And then Michael is stopped by the sheriff, and now they're back in Universal City at the back lot. So I'm not sure why they needed to cut that in there, but they did. This girl in the background here, I'm not sure who she is. She might be part of the Knight Rider crew as well. She pops up a couple times. I always notice her because she reminds me of Tanya Walker from the pilot, Phyllis Davis. But we see her again in Chariot of Gold here coming up, and she's at the Helios estate. So we'll point that out whenever we get to that episode. And then we have Michael pulling into the sheriff station, the Alpine Crest Sheriff Station, which is in reality the Covina police station. In the background, if we look here, we can see some of the Comtron trailers, the Universal Studios production trailers right here, all lined up in a row. And then he pulls in here to the sheriff station. We see the sheriff station again in Silent Night. Silent Night was filmed in Covina as well, and they also used this same sheriff station. And actually, if you look closely in this corner, you can actually see it says Covina right there. So they didn't do a good job covering that up. So we should stop and talk briefly. Some of you guys out there like whenever I give you just a brief history of the guest stars in the episodes. So this is Luke Askew. He played Ron Austin, obviously. Another prolific actor, appeared in a lot of shows in the 70s and 80s. $6 Million Man, T.J. Hooker, Fall Guy, Airwolf. He unfortunately died in 2012 of lung cancer. And that's another thing I wanted to point out. So Michael tells KITT, pull up a picture of Ron Austin. And this is the picture that KITT pulls up on his monitor. And Michael says, hard copy, please. And then this is the hard copy, which is clearly a press photo of Luke Askew. So not sure how KITT got from this to printing out this, but there you go. So here, this is Sheriff Moore, played by John Crawford. And he was in a number of shows also, just like all these people. Twilight Zone, Star Trek, Bionic Woman, Gunsmoke, Mission Impossible. He died also in 2010 at the age of 90 from a stroke. So now it's the next day. Michael leaves Alpine Crest, or he's leaving the Alpine Crest Hotel, gets in KITT. And two things to note. One, there's our lack of white wire alert. It's still covered in gaff tape. I believe they changed the gaff tape, though. Take a look at the last episode versus this one. I think they retaped it. So that's kind of exciting if you're into gaff tape like that. And of course, we must talk about Michael's outfit. So he is once again wearing the same red turtleneck and jeans that he wore in the pilot. And the entire purpose of this, as you well know, is so that they could reuse the jailbreak scene later in this episode. So in the pilot, Michael's in jail, KITT comes, crashes through a wall, breaks him out. They decide to reuse that as a cost-cutting measure in this episode. So in order to do that, they had to dress Michael the same for continuity purposes. So that's why Michael is re-wearing his outfit from the pilot. So from another angle, here's Michael and KITT pulling out of what is supposed to be the Alpine Crest Hotel right here. And again, we visited this in 2018, so I want to show you a little comparison. So first, let's take a look at this. So this building, this Alpine Crest building, is no longer here. It's been replaced with another building. However, take a look at this. In the background, we have lose income tax, right? 3390442. And the same sign, lose income tax, right up here. And also take a look, Christian Science Reading Room. Look at that sign sticking out of the side. All right, so in 2018 we went there. Let's take a look. We can see Alpine Crest Hotel is no longer, it's something different. However, look at this. The sign changed on the side, but that is the exact same lose income tax bookkeeping that we saw in 1983. Also, Christian Science Reading Room, that is the exact same sign from 1983. Take a look. Let's go back. Look at that. There's those two signs, and then let's look now. They are still there. Isn't that cool? After 40 years, Lou's still doing income taxes, and there's still a Christian Science Reading Room. How about that? And Michael leaves, and look, you get an extra special dose of the red gremlin. There it is again, now parked in downtown Alpine Crest. This is right after Deputy Cole chases, well, not really chases, but follows Michael out of town. Then he spins and does a 180 to let the sheriff know that Michael is leaving town. And take a look here, and once again we have the awesome Jack Gill. He failed to put a fake mustache on to match Deputy Cole, but there he is doing a 180 in the police car. This is the general purpose stunt car. So let's take a look at this in closer detail, because it's somewhat rare that we see the underside of KITT. We see it a lot in the first season, but then after that they either show it from a different angle, or they actually put plates underneath the car to hide the underside, I guess, to maintain the mystique of KITT. But here, let's advance forward and take a look. So here we have the you can see a great look here at the skid plate. So we're going to zoom in real close on this and take a look at what they did. So obviously the skid plate is protecting the engine and transmission. So they've got it bolted down here and here, and they, this is the transmission cross member is right here. You can see the edge of it. So they just have this pretty much bolted into the transmission cross member. They've got another bolt right here in the center under the engine cradle, and then you can see that this is two pieces. There's a brake right here, and these three bolts hold this front piece to this rear piece, and then up front on the bottom of the radiator support, these two are screwed in there, or bolted in there. A lot of people have noticed in the show that KITT has these red or orange shocks. Pretty much all of the original cars, not all of them, but pretty much all of them were outfitted with these Coney shocks. And all of the originals, at least the two that we own, and I think all of them, still have the original Coney shocks on them, which is kind of cool. All right, let's move forward. So there's kind of another look. Take a look at this. They welded a plate right here. I'm wondering if that's to make it easy to jack the car up, or maybe there was some damage there. I think if we go back a scene, yeah, you can see that plate a little bit, and they put another plate back here. There's another plate on the back. So I'm wondering if they use those as jack points. So instead of, trying to use the flimsy little ones that were on the frame rails, they probably just welded those pads on there. It looks like there's one on the bottom here as well. Yeah, there's another one right there. So I'm betting that they just welded those on for a quick and easy way to jack up the car, change a tire or whatever, because, time is money, and if they get a flat tire, they need to be able to switch it out quick and get back to filming. So let me move forward a little bit here, and we see kind of a wider angle, and zooming in, we can see that this is the car. We saw this car way back in Slammin' Sammy when it was on two wheels. This is the car that had the true dual exhaust, and they replaced the factory dual resonator muffler with this single piece here. This is also the same car that did the oil slick. So you can see the two giant holes cut in the floorboards here. That's from the oil slick all the way back from the Pilot. So they're still using this same car here. And you guys will like this. So this was, 1983? So let's look at it in 2018 when we visited. So there it is. So if you can compare, let's go back. We've still got this the California Federal Bank with this time and temperature sign on the corner here, and then the outhouse surf and skate. Let's see what it looks like now. So look, they still have that exact same sign. It's just been reskinned. Still has time and temperature, and now this is a pawn shop. So pretty cool. It was neat, standing here in 2018. Picturing KITT skiing right down this road. To know that it happened here was just really, really cool. And then we get this point of view shot from inside the Camaro, and this is interesting, and this actually threw us off a little bit for a while, because notice that we have the vinyl rear seat in this car. Now, if you've been following along with the series, you know that the fifth Trans Am that they got back in Hearts of Stone was the first car that that the production got that had the vinyl or the leather interior seats. They promote it as leather, but in reality, I'm pretty sure it's vinyl. But anyways, but we know, because we just saw the bottom of this car, that this is not that fifth Trans Am, right? That fifth Trans Am still has its dual resonator exhaust, and it doesn't have the cutouts for the oil slick from the Pilot, because it wasn't even a Knight Rider car in the Pilot. So this is an early example of them starting to switch out pieces from one car to another. So my guess is that they wanted to take the nicer car, which was that fifth Trans Am, that new Trans Am, and start to make it look, more like KITT, maybe closer up. So what are they going to do? Well, they're going to take parts out of a car that you don't really see up close, like this general purpose stunt car, and move them over to that car. So I think that's what happened. I think they just swapped seats, moved the vinyl interior, at least the rear seats, over to this car, and maybe put this car's seats over in the other car. That's my guess. And here's, another shot here. I'm not sure if there's anything new to report, except you get another better look here at the single exhaust pipe here. I'd be curious to what you guys think about this exhaust pipe, because it almost looks like it's not like a Firebird one. It's a custom job. It almost looks cylindrical and long here that they put in, but I don't really know. And you can see that we've got two pipes, one here, and then this other one wraps around and kind of goes in over here. So definitely it looks like a custom job there. And one other thing to note, if you recall back in, again, in the pilot, but we really see it in a couple scenes I pointed out in Good Day at White Rock, KITT's smoke screen. So originally he had a bar under here with little vents on it, with little nozzles that would shoot the smoke out. We can see by this point they've actually removed that bar, and you can see the evidence of it right here. There's one of the openings right there, and the other one you can't really see in this angle is down here. So they removed that functionality from this car by this point. And I don't know what this is. I have no idea what that is right there. It's not factory. And then landing. By the way, this is Buzz Bundy. Buzz Bundy did all of the skiing of KITT throughout the entire series, as we've mentioned before. And here you get a great look at the handle that he installs on his ski cars just to kind of maintain balance when the car's up in the air. And actually, if you look at this, doesn't that kind of look at the shine on the top? That actually looks like the vinyl seat. So I'm betting they did replace the entire interior. They moved it from one car to this one. That's my guess. And then, of course, we've got the famous turbo boost through the alleyway. You know, we talked to Jack Gill many, many years ago, and he fondly remembers this jump because, as I recall, he said there was a professor from Caltech out there prior to the jump, and he was doing measurements and taking calculations, and he said, there's no way you're going to be able to make that jump. You're going to crash into a building. And Jack said, no, I can do it. So Jack did the jump. It was successful. And when he got out to see the professor, he saw the back of him driving away. So apparently his pride was hurt a little bit there. And for those of you who care, this was 1983, and we went and saw it from a slightly different angle. Here it is in 2018, and I think if we advance one, yeah, there's a little bit. So that's the alleyway. He's jumping across this way and landing down in here. And there was actually a film crew inside, I think it was this building right here, filming from the inside, and you can see that in the episode. Yeah, there he goes flying across the street. This is the roll cage acrylic window jump car. And you know, as we mentioned before, this might be its son because the original roll cage jump car might have been destroyed in Give Me Liberty, Give Me Death. We're not 100% sure, but here is the car flying once again. Oh, and there's I backed up a little. There's a slightly better look. You can see the roll cage in here, and the acrylic window. I think this is a different jump car. Just looking at it, because if you remember in our previous episodes, when you saw that car, I mean, it was looking pretty rough even before a jump, and you could tell that the rear end was sagging a little, and the roof, it just looked bad. But now all of a sudden this car looks nicer. So I bet you this is a replacement jump car because the other one was destroyed. That's my guess. And then we have Michael driving through the alley coming up to the Chevrolet dealership before the police stop. And the only reason I point this out is because it's just really neat to see all of these F-bodies in the background here. This is a Chevrolet dealership, so that explains why you have Camaro. This is probably a used trade-in, a Firebird or Trans Am, and I think that's another Camaro there. Yeah, it is another Camaro there. There we go. So this is Klippinger Chevrolet in Covina, California. And there we go. There's a better shot. And look at all those Corvettes right there. 1, 2, 3, 4 Corvettes in a row, and you've got a Silverado or a, what do they call it, a K-15s or C-15s? I don't know. Something like that. So there we go. And there's a Ford dealership over here. So now we move. It's after the commercial. Michael is arrested. And this is one of the somewhat rare times that they're using the blind drive seat in the hero car. They did it a lot in the early part of the season, but they kind of got away from that. But here in this instance, we can clearly see the dashboard, the full dash, and we see that this is a blind drive seat. So not sure why they decided to use the hero car for this scene. I guess maybe specifically because of this angle, so you could see the dash, although you'd think they would have the dash on. So I don't know. And then KITT somehow is tricked and gets up on the engine lift. And I always liked this angle because you got to kind of see the tow bar from a different point of view. And we can see we've got it welded in here to the radiator support and either welded or bolted here back here in the back. So just kind of a neat angle. And this is the hero car. The hero car did not have a skid plate under it because it wasn't supposed to be used for any major stunts. So that's why we don't see a skid plate here. And then after Jabina drops KITT down and KITT says basically get out of my way, we see him self-drive and head out the door. We can see that we've got a stock Trans Am dash on the inside of this car. And taking a closer look, this is your standard 82 Trans Am map pocket, so we know that there's no dash covering that. And then this is what I was referring to earlier, which any even minor fan of the show knows. They reused the complete jailbreak scene from the pilot here in A Nice and Decent Town, and I guess thought that we wouldn't notice. There we go. Here we have Martha Haberstraw leaving in KITT, or what's supposed to be Martha. Clearly we have a stunt woman there wearing a white wig instead. And this is that 5th Trans Am, the one that we were just talking about, that they received in Hearts of Stone. This is that 5th Trans Am. We can tell we still have the seatbelts, no tow bar. We've got the squared off overhead. And if you watch this scene, the hood's actually popped open, which you can see here. And you'd be forgiven thinking this was like the rubber shell, because that looks like kind of the rubber shell. But in reality, the hood was just popped. And actually, when they pull out just a little more and hit this bump, you can actually see the hood pop up and down. This house is still around. And here's what it looks like today. So this is 6452 Cleon Avenue in Los Angeles. So if we take a look, this is where KITT comes down. And then he pulls out, drives down this road, and then goes around this bend. And if you look here, it still has the same arch window, and you can see this garage off to the side here. Yeah, so there's well, I guess this screenshot doesn't show either of those. But to the left of where this is cut off, you can see the arch window, and then the garage is over here. So just take my word for it. It's the same house right there. Still around today. Yeah, here, I think. No, you can't really tell. I was trying to showcase the bump here, but you can't see it, the bump in the hood. And then we zoom in, and now this is Martha Haberstraw. Back here we're at the that stunt car with the squared off overhead, and then for the close-up, it's the hero car, right, with Martha Haberstraw in it. So speaking of Martha, this is Amesy Strickland. She started working in 1937. 1 week after her 18th birthday, and she worked all the way until 2001. She was in, tons of shows, but Facts of Life, Twilight Zone, Golden Girls, Jefferson's, Falcon Crest, just to name a few of the more popular ones. She died in 2006 at age of 87. And Martha supposedly still driving KITT. You'll see throughout most of the climax of this episode that KITT is missing his turn signal covers. And, going back to all the problems they had with them throughout the first season, my guess is someone just got tired of dealing with them and just ripped them off and said, all right, go. That's my guess. We'll see that a little closer here in the future. This is the man who drives this pickup truck that KITT turbo boosts over. This is Charles Pasirni. I might have pronounced that wrong, but he's a member of Knight Rider's stunt team, and he appears in a bigger role in the next episode as William Donner in Whitebird. Yeah, see, there's a better look here. You can see that the turn signal covers are not in place right there. And now we're back. We've got the Flivver car here, the Volkswagen-powered dune buggy chassis jump car, jumping over the back here. There's a couple good looks at it. You can see all the space in here between the wheel wells and whatnot. Yeah, there's a good look. Not a Trans Am. Clearly not a Trans Am. So now we have Michael driving Martha's car and coming up, driving through and going to the Hallelujah Press. This is actually a road on the Universal Studios back lot. If we were to wait a couple seconds, you'd see a gas station over here. I think it's a 76 gas station. That was the studio gas station. They actually had a gas station on the studio lot. It was right over here. And I think we were told that this is the old transportation building. I could be wrong, but I feel like we were told that at one point. And Michael's still driving here. We've got another instance of a California license plate with no California on it. That's okay. And here are a couple of the utility trailers used, aka the Comtron trailers, the Knight Rider style trucks right here. And actually, if we look at this closer, take a look at this trailer. License plate UX 9249. We saw this exact trailer in the pilot right here. Look. UX 9249. So Comtron trailer, which is again in reality Universal Studios transportation fleet. Here it is again, being used in a nice and decent little town. It looks like the tractors, they disengage from the trailer. So the trailer's sitting here, and we can see one of the tractors peeking out behind it. Pretty cool, huh? All right, so let's talk about these two guys, and well, first take a look here. We've got here's a mount for the camera right here, hanging over the side of the door. But we already talked about Luke Askew right back here, and who we didn't talk about was this guy. This is Norman Burton. He played Charles Barneswell in this episode. He reappears again in Redemption of a Champion. So. We'll see him again. And actually, I didn't mention this now that I'm thinking about it. John Crawford, who played Sheriff Moore in this episode, he reappears again in Night Racer. So we get to see both of these actors once again in future episodes. And then we move to the inside with Michael and Jobina. And here you get a look at this car's camera mount, just barely down here at the bottom. And another look at KITT here, missing the turn signal indents. We can see that his hood is very misaligned there. And take a look at this. There's two holes in the fender. And we see these in a couple other scenes and episodes around the time that this was filmed. Not sure what those holes were for. I don't know if they maybe had a camera mounted there for something. But definitely odd. Two holes. And then there's our best look yet at the turn signal coverless KITT, which actually is not a bad look. And then we've got the Camaro. Obviously, this well-placed branch is hiding a pipe ramp, which as we move forward, we can see it just a little bit more right there. And then we move inside, and, Michael and Devin and Bonnie are just talking about the town and whatnot. And Michael is once again wearing that same white black jacket with the white piping that we saw in Hearts of Stone and Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death. And then we move to the trailer. The scene in the inside ends with Michael sitting down to read the Bible to KITT. And then we pan to the semi. And if you watch carefully, the ramp of the semi is actually going down. So it's almost like, KITT decided he didn't want to hear it, and he opened the ramp and he was going to leave. I don't know. And then we transition to this. This is the first time in the series we see this ending. Prior to this, it was always the epilogue with Richard Basehart talking over while KITT's driving the desert. This is the first time we see what would become the familiar desert ending of KITT racing towards the camera. They revert back in the next episode, Chariot of Gold. They actually revert back to the epilogue. before switching to this permanently. And possibly the reason that they did that is because, if you remember, I said this was the 16th episode to air, but the 17th to be produced. Well, Whitebird was the 17th to air and the 16th to be produced. So because Whitebird was produced before this one, that's my guess as to why it still had the old epilogue at the end, as opposed to this new version. So there you go. Thanks for watching. On our next episode, we'll hitch a ride with the Greek sun god Helios and head over to his palace. And we're taking his killer new ride. No, not a Ferrari. We'll take his chariot of gold. I hope he has GPS. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
And now, while we listen to Joe's selection of Knight Rider music that we received directly from Don Peake himself, we'd like to thank these Patreon supporters. Look at you guys scrolling up the screen to my right. Wait a minute, how can you tell which side is my right, since you can't see me because I'm not on camera? Oh well, you know what I mean. We're featuring these fine supporters at our Knight Rider Prop Restorer level. Thank you very much for your support. And for those of you at the Knight Rider History Hunter level, we're recognizing you right now in the description. Now, if you enjoyed seeing this golden nugget of Knight Rider history being rescued from obscurity, then please consider supporting us on Patreon. Your support would empower us to bring you even more of these historical nuggets. We are the Knight Rider Historians. Till next time, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.